Hello, everyone. This is Vishwanath for Winning It Stocks podcast. I am a
sports psychology coach, mental performance analyst,
podcaster, author, blogger, and video maker. I've authored the book Success Mantra in Sports. Today, I have an interesting episode for you. All of you might have been reading and seeing on the television about the world number one, Novak Djokovic, who has embroiled himself into a needless controversy about not getting vaccinated. Now he feels that he has his right of way and he doesn't want to get vaccinated, and he feels entitled because he is the world number one. When the whole world is fighting this pandemic together and the whole world believes that it's important to get vaccinated, each government has come up and made stringent rules for each citizen to get vaccinated in the interest of their own safety and interest of not spreading the virus amongst other people. This world number one, Novak Djokovic, he's going against the wishes of the majority population. And now you all have been reading about the thing. Today in today's news, finally the court verdict has come from the Australian top court, and they have refused his visa. Visa has been cancelled, and he is soon to be deported. Maybe that will happen tomorrow. And to speak about this, I have with me a senior sports journalist. He has served for more than 35 years in the journalism field. He has done most of his journalism in the sports coverage. He used to be the chief sports editor for The Hindu. He has worked in reputed media houses like
Deccan Herald, and Indian Express.
So let me take this privilege to welcome Mr. Kalyan Ashok to this chat show. Welcome to the show, Mr. Kalyan Ashok.
Yeah, thank you, sir. I'm ready for your queries on this issue, which has been rocking the tennis world for past fortnight.
True, sir. Thank you for joining the show. And sir, can you tell the business in brief, what is this controversy all about?
The controversy is basically about non-vaccination of Djokovic, who arrived in Australia to participate in the Australian Open. See, Australia has very strict rules regarding the vaccination and COVID issue. This country has been almost in a lockdown for quite some time, ever since the COVID epidemic started spreading all over the country, especially so in Melbourne, where the championship is being held. Okay, Melbourne has faced 6 lockdowns in the past 1 year, and a lot of restrictions are in place. And, they don't allow anybody without any mask or COVID certificate to go around and do business. So this being the case, someone like Djokovic, who has no vaccination, who is one of the leading figures of the anti-COVID brigade, coming to Melbourne and willing to participate in the Australian Open. So this raised quite a lot of questions and issues about his participation here, and the Australian government was very strict about the implementing its rule, whether he's the world number one or not.
Yes, sir. Interesting. Very interesting. Sir, when Novak Djokovic sent his entries to the Australian Open, told them clearly that he had not been vaccinated himself, and he also attracted COVID, and he has come out of it. And then he being the world number one, he's a prize attraction for the tournament, and that too, he's in par with 20 Grand Slams along with other two greats, Federer and Rafael Nadal. And Nadal, he's a prize. That he has won the highest number of Australian Opens. He's a favorite to win this title this time. And if he is going to win, then he is going to become the highest, the number one as far as winning the Grand Slams are concerned. Now, Tennis Australia definitely invited him, said that they have granted him exemption, and initially his visa has been approved, and he landed in Australia. Now, don't you think that the Australian government, their immigration policies, their external affairs ministry, and Tennis Australia, everyone did not think in the same lines. Once he arrived, then the whatever the rules started, the Australian government started imposing its rules, saying that the rules are same for everyone, whoever it may be, however great the person may be. Maybe if with a better management within Australia, with a better communication and better arrangement, better understanding, all this controversy could have been avoided.
Definitely so. See, in the first place, they should have rejected his visa on these grounds. But unfortunately, his visa has been granted. I am given to understand Tennis Australia, way back in November 2021, sort of wrote to federal government and Victorian government, where since Melbourne is in Victoria, to seek clarification on the issue. Whereas, according to Tennis Australia, they have not got any valid explanation or reasons regarding the COVID restrictions from federal government. Meanwhile, having this being the case, Tennis Australia are very well aware that that he had a COVID infection, all right, and once we have a COVID infection, what happens is for quite a few months you are not eligible for vaccination. But no, they Tennis Australia exercise its discretion and said a special exemption can be given to Mr. Djokovic, though he is not vaccinated. So that's how the exemption was given and the visa was issued to Djokovic. But this happened, say, way back in December, early December, it should have happened. But when Djokovic arrived in Melbourne, Australia has a strong security system there in the airport and other thing, especially something called a border security, which supposed to protect the borders of Australia from undesirable elements, maybe the refugees and asylum seekers and all that, and especially those who don't conform to the Australian rules and regulations. So when they checked his visa, it was found that no, he has not been vaccinated. So they immediately Djokovic was told that he is ineligible to stay in Australia, and he was put in a detention center. So then what happened was Djokovic was able to contact his legal team here in Melbourne, and they appealed to the circuit court here in Melbourne. So they said, okay, the circuit judge considered all the facts and all that thing. They said no, that he doesn't pose much of a threat in the sense that he has already been given exemption by the Tennis Australia, and he could be eligible to play in Australian Open. So that's what happened in the first place. So this has led to the Australian government to make an appeal again. Let me put one thing clear. You see, you can't really blame Djokovic also on this count, because in Europe, nearly 45%, especially in Serbia, a country like Serbia, the 45% of the people are not vaccinated at all. And there is a strong anti-vaccination sentiment there and all. And Djokovic also felt, I think, that getting vaccinated could affect him from playing to his potential. Because COVID injection has also produces side effects in players and all that, especially people who have symptoms and other thing. No, So possibly it could be
comorbidities.
one of the reason he never opted for a vaccination at all. But he was quite confident that his special exemption could be respected by the authorities and he could play. But unfortunately, it didn't turn out that way for him.
Sir, it's indeed surprising that a European country like Serbia, 45% of them are against vaccination, fearing side effects of reasons they have got. And being a Serbian, Novak has also supported that view. And he has not got himself vaccinated. Well, that's one point. And another is that even though he has not got himself vaccinated, he has supported the fight against this uh, deadly virus. He has helped Italy and his own country, Serbia, and here to fund the hospitals, and they were procure these oxygen what do you call that, oxygen cylinders or oxygen producing machines. He has supported. He has invested a lot of money. So he has also helped people when they have been knowing this that the people have suffered. Then he should have become aware that no, this is not proper. We should not let the people suffer. So it's important to get vaccinated. I am also an icon. He being the one of the heroes. Then he said lead the way. That's one aspect. So this is where everything started. This what we are seeing now is the effect. So the cause was his not getting himself vaccinated. Then I've also been reading reports about how Djokovic is a very spiritual person. Then he does spiritual practices like meditation and all that. Then he believes a lot in about the positive thinking and the body's ability to heal itself. And he also visits his spiritual guru named Pepe Imaz in Spain. So maybe he thinks differently that we shouldn't be thinking negatively. We should not be under too much fear about this deadly virus, what it can do to us. If you are positive and if you are immune to this, and he also believes that our way of thinking can bring about our own healing ability within the body. And if you are too afraid, if you're too negative, you will lose your immunity and you will attract the virus. So this is also what he's been coming out, and I am surprised that when the whole world is thinking one way, he is thinking in the opposite. And he is also a scientific person. That in this modern scientific world, he should be supporting the majority and not having his own view. And to say the last word, we have read about how he has come out so many times saying that the reason for my mental toughness is the where I was born, where Yugoslavia, the country split, and Serbia is one of the countries is always in war with the neighboring country. And he has mentioned about certain incidents about how when he was practicing, suddenly he heard bombs falling, and he has to go and hide himself in the basements of a building and run away from that spot. He says we were always war torn, and he too didn't come from a very affluent background. So he has worked a lot, sacrificed a lot, and made a name for himself. And to be number one, and people are saying that he's even better than Roger Federer and Nadal. But whatever, the record speaks for themselves. Don't you think that for all that he has built with just this incident, he has become very unpopular?
Not quite, sir, because he is world number one. Whatever it is, still he'll be world number one also, because the Australian Open can change the ranking a bit here and there. But there are a lot of other events to come, because it could be followed by a French Open later in a couple of months' time. So French authorities have said they will allow Djokovic to play. So maybe the next one will be Wimbledon, and in June, then the September he goes to US Open. See, Djokovic really had a tough time to coming up and playing up to reach this level in a country like Serbia, in a war-torn country. That's what, as you rightly put, in 1990s, Yugoslavia split up, and it has come into so many three or four parts, new nations came like Bosnia, Croatia, and of course Serbia on its own. And because there is a lot of infighting and alleged Serbian atrocities against Bosnian Muslims, the NATO, with the UN sanction, started taking military action against Serbia. So it has left a huge scar on the psyche of the Serbian people also. During this, that is in 90s. So this is the time where Djokovic was slowly coming up in the ranks, and also that the country which was without a icon found a champion, and he's that Serbians refer to him as King Djokovic, something like that, no. So it is they hold him in a very high esteem. So in what has happened to Djokovic planned to play in Australian Open went awry because for a couple of things. In December 16th, while playing a match, basketball match with some of the kids in Belgrade, he contracted this COVID. See, I believe he was unaware at it. He went for a test and all that in 17. So the results was pending at the time. Meanwhile, he went to Spain and for a interaction with children there and all that. And followed that, he returned to Serbia. By that time, his reports were out that he had a COVID. Knowing he had a COVID, he sort of gave an interview to a French media, TV or paper, I think. So he had a
Yes.
COVID at the time, which is against the rules. So once you are in COVID, you have to go in isolation or go get hospitalized, which he never did. As he said, uh, as you rightly pointed out, that he was under the impression that positive thought and positive thinking can sort of heal a person. No, self healing will be the best thing. Maybe he has helped a lot of people with COVID infections and all that. On personal level, he felt he is can take care of himself with his all these positive actions and positive thoughts and all that. He never went in for a vaccination at all. That sort of became an issue. Like when he landed in Melbourne, also there are a couple of glitches here. Firstly, he never disclosed that he went to Spain. And according to him, the travel document and the immigration, he's ticked a wrong box. That he now blames it on his agent, which said that he has not traveled anywhere else after contracting COVID, which is false declaration. And when you make a false declaration at immigration, you are immediately thrown out. That has happened to him. And second thing is that non-vaccination for COVID, this thing also went against him. So he was put in a isolation there in a detention camp. Of course, his legal team successfully fought the case in the circuit court in Melbourne. They were able to get him out and they allowed him to play. Meanwhile, the Australian Open organizers also made the draw and made Djokovic as the number one seed, and even put a match for him on Monday evening. So, so by the time this government appealed for a second this thing, and they cancelled his visa again, and surprisingly enough, the cancellation of the visa for the second time came at a very inopportune time for Djokovic, because I believe it was the decision of the immigration minister, Mr. Alex Hawke, came at 6 p.m. when the court was about to close. So these people had very little time to appeal. So they went in for an appeal on the next day, that is on Saturday. They went for an appeal, and this time it was before a federal court. Federal court, they had a three-bench panel, and you know what they decided. basically was, see, they are not looking at the merits and demerits of Mr. Djokovic's submission, but his appeal, they decided to cancel it. They did rejected it, in fact, citing that the minister, immigration minister, or the executive order is valid, and they have government has within its right to cancel or withhold visa for anyone. So that's what happened, and he has to be deported as soon as possible. As far as tennis world is concerned, it's quite divided. Like, for many of them, this has come as a blow in the sense, they all feel that it's a sad thing, and people like even Rafael Nadal felt said no, with or without Djokovic, the tournament should go on. So that is the thing. The game is more important than a person. So they have taken it on the rise. Now people have to focus more on the game than what has happened to Djokovic. The Djokovic chapter as good as closed now. He has no other
Closed.
option but to leave Australia.
Hmm. Sir, speaking about the other place, Sissipas has said that when the whole world, all the tennis players are following the norms, they've been vaccinated, and if the majority is in one way, if he has not got himself vaccinated and is allowed to play, we are all left to look like fools. That's what Sissipas has said, and this is what. Now, you clearly mentioned that it will not going to have an impact on his performance, his records. He will definitely come back stronger and go on to win the many more Grand Slam. Definitely, he has still a lot of game left in him. He is definitely going to win that one or two more Grand Slams, so that it will be very difficult for the others to catch up with him. He will going to create the all-time record of winning the highest Grand Slams. Don't you think he has become a little unpopular with the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is fighting this pandemic, and this
See what has see in Australia during this controversy, a famous newspaper called Age Melbourne, they conducted a poll on Djokovic visa being cancelled. 70% of the people who were polled indicated that Djokovic should be deported immediately. So that is the kind of sentiments the most Australians had. And as I said, no, you are the Australian, the Greek player whom you mentioned, was within his right to
Tsitsipas.
add his opinion about Djokovic. But again, what he said in a way was right, because 98% of the players who are in the draw are vaccinated. Okay, so you can't make exception for one or two players who say that you are not vaccinated. If you remember, there is a Greek, Czechoslovakian player, girl who was allowed to play in one event in Australia. Then, having discovered that she was not vaccinated, the government immediately had her deported. Once you
Yes, sir.
deport a girl, player like that, you cannot have a different yardstick for
Yeah,
another
to
player
others.
like Djokovic,
Yes.
because
So that
the
too,
rule
that
rule
too,
applies to all.
uh, yeah. And Djokovic is fighting against the wrong government, because this government is very strict. Their laws are draconian as far as COVID is concerned, and their government is so unpopular with its own citizens. The citizens are also so many up in arms against the government about because lockdowns. You mentioned that Melbourne was put under lockdown 6 times. So actually, he found himself at the wrong end, fighting the wrong bull, taking the wrong bull in the hands, and this is what happened to him. Yes, sir. Please continue, sir. Will this have an impact on his game in the future?
No, I think you can look at it in two ways. One, it might have an impact on his game initially, because now he'll be down in dumps and very disappointed, and those kind of things. If you look at it the other way, Djokovic might be spurred on by this setback and determined to come back in full force for the next few events. That also can
Yes, sir.
happen. So that is
So
the
even now, he has got a very bright chance of getting himself vaccinated and winning the hearts of the people. He can do that. And
yeah, but
today, when we saw in the television that after his news of being that he's going to be deported and he's lost the case in the court, he says, I will respect the courts, what their decision, and I'm willing to cooperate with them, and I will go back definitely, and I will take some rest and come back and feel more rejuvenated and come back stronger. And he was smiling all the way.
yeah,
I think yes. Hmm.
yeah. I think
Okay, sir.
he has what he called. He has taken a right step. See, there are a couple of things here. See that he has a letter of apology and explanations after the thing, and accepting the decision of the court with grace and all that would probably go well with the Australian authorities, because once you are deported from Australia and he has no chance of playing in Australian Open for the next 3 years. Djokovic is already
Oh,
34 or 35, 34, I think. So by the time he'll be 37, after 3 year, if there is a 3 year ban. No, so probably his statement is made to avoid such a scenario where he is banned for 3 years. And maybe the situation regarding the COVID might go down in a year or so that there might not be so much of a restriction for Djokovic to come back and play, and he can appeal again. I mean, next year he can definitely appeal and say that no, either he gets himself vaccinated, or even without vaccination, if there is a relaxation of rules, he can apply and say that no, I can come back and play. The government, if it's willing, they
yes,
will allow him to play. That's what I hope.
yes.
And also, you have to
Oh,
look at it, the government decision another uh, way. See, Australia is due for a national election sometime in 4 months' time. So, government wants to show that they are tough and they are very legitimately correct in taking a strong decision like this, whether it is a ordinary player or a world number one.
sir. Maybe they have also gone by the public opinion. Yes,
Yeah.
all said and done, this has left a very it has left a bad taste in the mouth. And what I feel that he has built his career brick by brick and reached the pinnacle. And I don't want that castle to fall down like a pack of cards. I hope it will not have impact on his game. Since public memory is short, all that will be forgotten. I hope he will do things that to win back the hearts, do a lot to the public. In fact, he's a very humble and a noble person. And just this one thing, it was, see, he could be doing this in his own country. Nobody will come in the way. He will get away with it. But to be doing it in across internationally, that too when he has to travel all over the world to play, I think it was slightly, it was off. I think this is wrong decision making and faulty thinking. And one left is surprised that the thought process can affect even the greatest in the world. So sometimes it can go against them. So, sir, thank you very much for participating in this chat show. You have shared in a lot of insights about the entire episode. Even I myself didn't know the intricate details of this episode, what led to the Djokovic's deportation. Very clear and it just came out with each and every fact about what happened during the entire period. So nice speaking to you, sir. So thank you. Maybe we'll join again for some other conversation.